G'day, I'm Paul. So I've been reviewing cars for like over 20 years now, and I just cannot tell you, with the influx of Chinese cars that are coming to Australia, just how much value there is in these things. And if you desperately want a new car and you don't want to spend mega dollars, there's just so much value to be had. So this is called the Geely Starray. It is basically a plug-in hybrid version of the EX5 that we drove a little while back. The EX5 is the fully electric one. And I remember with the EX5 being pretty impressed with the package in terms of what it was like inside and what it was like to drive as well. This sort of takes it up a notch by extending that driving range. They actually set a world record here in Australia in terms of the distance the car could travel on a single tank of fuel and a single charge. Now, it was a bit of a furphy, that world record, because it had a different battery to the one in this car, but it still actually achieved a pretty big number. And that's where plug-in hybrids really come into their own. They can give you the difference between a fully electric experience and a sort of internal combustion hybrid experience. By splitting the difference, you can still drive it as a full electric car on its 18 odd kilowatt hour battery. Or if you want to go further than that, you've got an internal combustion engine that you can then just keep driving with. So today we're going to do a detailed review of this. This is the top spec Inspire model. This is priced at just under $40,000 before on-road costs. If that is too expensive, the entire range kicks off a little bit cheaper than that as well. So let's talk about the design, I think, to start with. And look, the design, I think, of this Geely stuff really is just inoffensive, stylish, and it doesn't look like you're driving a science experiment. There are some cars from the Chinese market that still just don't have that cohesive design, and this, in my opinion, styling being subjective, really splits the difference there between something that is sort of high-end and premium but doesn't look too out there. So LED running lights up the top here with the actual LED light beam down the bottom there. Quite a nice sort of colour here with this split between the headlights, the Geely logo down the front there, Geely, however you want to say it. Around the corner here, we've got a set of 19-inch alloy wheels, so machined finish on the outside there with the piano black finish on the inside. Goodyear, what are we? Goodyear efficient grip, so they are a sort of efficient tyre to give you that longer driving range. This being a front-wheel drive, you're not going to expect it to really sort of break any world records in terms of acceleration, but that's where you get your efficiencies, by packaging everything here with this front-wheel drive platform. Got yourself some wheel arch cladding just there. Indicator built into the wing mirror with a camera on the side. You've got these chrome highlights that run up the top there. Someone's managed to damage that, wasn't me. You've got a glass roof up the top here with roof rails. Privacy glass, and then come around to the back with me. Even around the back here, the styling is sort of just nice and subdued, but with enough styling highlights. You've got Geely individual letters there, Starray EMI, which is the designation there for the plug-in hybrid. So yeah, let me know what you reckon about the design, and what do you think about the direction that we're heading in. When you look at the pricing of this, you've got a commodity, which is a battery. That is a fixed amount to produce. You can't just, you know, find a half-price battery somewhere. You've got a fixed price commodity with the battery. You've got an entire vehicle here with features and luxury items inside. It is just staggering to me how much value you're getting out of something like this. So anyway, just impressed by it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. What do you think about the pricing? What do you think about the styling? I'm keen to see what you think. Okay, so we're inside the Starray. We've already done a detailed review on the EX5, which this shares a lot of components with, so I'm just going to zip through some of this. If you do want a bit more detail, have a look at the EX5 review for the interior section. But yeah, so key, it's a proximity sensing key, so you can just hop on inside and away you go. So the thing I liked about the EX5 and what I like about this is it's simple, but sort of not too simple, but still feels and looks premium. And when you go to this top spec, you're getting this 1,000 watt sound system, which, like I've said at the start, the value for money that you're getting out of these cars is pretty crazy. To think that you can spend such little amount of money and have a 1,000 watt sound system, which, you know, not that long ago was reserved for high-end premium European cars, I think is pretty cool. A pair of screens here, one for the infotainment, one for the driver, then a head-up display as well. This infotainment system's pretty good, it's easy to use. There are some frustrating parts to it though, and like even simple functions like putting your headlights on, you've got to do it through the screen here. So by the time you find your settings for the headlights, watch, just doing something simple like that, you have to then drag this slider. If I want to put them back on, you're going to drag the slider. It's just illogical things like that that they need to get rid of, and it is really frustrating as well when you go for a drive that just any setting you save here for some of the driver assistance functions then just gets cleared. And I'll go through that when we do go for a drive, but that is one of the most frustrating things with driving this car in particular, and driving a lot of Chinese market cars. They just still cannot get this stuff right, and yeah, it becomes pretty frustrating very quickly. So aside from that though, you've got a whole stack of features here in the infotainment system that allow you to add apps. You've got remote connectivity, you can stream music through the internet. You do have quite a lot of functions here to play with. 256 colours for the LED lights in and around the car, so a lot of things there to keep you busy, which is nice to see. Outside of that, you've got Apple CarPlay, which is wireless or wired, and then Android Auto is coming as part of a software update in Q1 2026. And this is what Apple CarPlay looks like. For some reason, that's not loading. Okay, so the whole infotainment system has now just completely stopped working. Nothing on the energy is loading, but I can't access any phone functions, so I can't show you what CarPlay looks like. So we'll put it as an overlay for later on, but yeah, that's not good. Map, this is what your... Even the map doesn't work. What is going on here? There we go, okay. This is what the inbuilt satellite navigation looks like. This is a good feature because a lot of the time, if you don't have your phone paired and you just need to go somewhere, you don't want to have to use Waze or CarPlay or Google Maps or whatever. You do still have inbuilt satellite navigation that'll get you where you need to go, which is good to see. Okay, so finally, after power cycling the car, there's Apple CarPlay. Full screen, looks great, but yeah, that is very frustrating. Now, aside of that, in terms of connectivity, you've got USB-C and A charging down the bottom here, a 12-volt power outlet. Got storage down the bottom here for things. You've got this little hidey hole here for cup holders. Wireless phone charger up the top here. No cooling on that, though, so your phone is likely to get hot on that. And a reasonably sized center console there. I don't love the fact that that's all open because you can't conceal things that you have inside the car when you go away from it, so everyone can see what's down there. You can't really have valuables. Shouldn't be storing in your car anyway, but just something to take note of. Glove box down here, sort of reasonably sized as well. No sunglasses holder up the top there. Not hidden in the door frame either, like it was in the Zeekr or something like that. And then moving away from your connectivity options in terms of comfort, you've got dual zone automatic climate control. So you access that by clicking on that. I don't know what's going on with this infotainment system. You adjust your temperatures through here. Again, this is something that they really should just have the ability to, just do using a button. You shouldn't have to go into an infotainment system and try and press some of these buttons to change these settings. This is something that really should be much easier to access than it actually is. But anyway, that's how you operate that function. So in addition to that, you've got heating and cooling for the driver and front passenger seat. And then if we get out of our infotainment system, screen ahead of the driver, really nice and crisp, gives you all of the key information that you need controlled here on the steering wheel. And just on the steering wheel itself, what an interesting design. So it's sort of flat at the top and the bottom, so a bit of a weird one, but it sort of sits in the hands nicely, and all your key functions are sort of pretty easy to find here and to sort of flick through some of those sub-menus that you have on the screen. In terms of the seats themselves, really nice and comfortable, perforated there for the cooling. You've got speakers in the headrest, which is great, and a little sort of emblem plugged into the seat there as well. Electric seat adjustment for driver and front passenger, so you can go forwards, backwards. Your backrest can go forwards and backwards. You can only lift the back of the seat. You can't adjust the front of the seat, which is a little bit frustrating. Then on steering, manually adjustable for both tilt and reach. And on our reach test, now all of this stuff is fairly easy to reach while you're driving. Now on the parking front, you've got front and rear parking sensors and a 360 camera. So quality of that is pretty decent. Let's have a look. Yeah, quality of that's not too bad at all. And then this is what the horn sounds like. Now, second row, what's it like back here? It's actually really spacious. So what happens when I get out of the front seat, this goes backwards. So my actual driving position is a little further forward. It just gives you an idea of how much room you've got back here. It's pretty remarkable how much space there is. So air vents down here to keep you cool, USB-C and A outlets with a little sort of nook there for holding things. You've got map pockets here as well, and a center armrest with a pair of cup holders. The interesting thing about this sort of space here is it's weird. I was in an EX5 Uber the other day and it felt like it was quite high in terms of the floor. This doesn't feel anything like that. This actually feels quite nice and comfortable here. So as an adult in the second row, it's actually not a bad place to be seated at all. In terms of cargo space, it's good but not amazing. You've got to think that when they're packaging these cars and they look at how they want to use the space between the wheels, which is the wheelbase, you have to figure out, do you want more legroom or do you want more boot room? And they've kind of gone for more legroom here because the boot isn't as cavernous as you'd think it'd be for a vehicle this size. It's not terrible, but I think it could be slightly better given the sort of dimensions on offer in the car. But anyway, aside from that, I think it is just a great interior here for families, and if you're going to be ferrying passengers around in the second row, there's plenty of space here even for adults. And does the window go down all the way? Let's find out. So it's auto up and down. Oh, fantastic. Now, before we go for a spin, let's talk about charging and battery. So you've got a battery capacity of just under 20 kilowatt hours, both AC and DC charging. AC charging a little under 7 kilowatts, DC charging max rate of 30 kilowatts. So that means you're going to be charging this on a DC charger in an hour is easily done. So I think they're pretty impressive specs here, and it just means that you're not going to spend all day charging this thing, and it's something you can easily charge at home as well on a 32 amp plug. So and it's an LFP battery too, so the type that you can charge and discharge to your heart's content. Before you hit the road, it's worth thinking about insurance. That's why we've partnered with UE for this review. For insurance that's a bit more U-shaped, head to UE.com.au. Okay, we've just hit the road in the Starray. What is powering all of this? Well, under the bonnet, you've got a 1.5 litre petrol engine. All right, let me just switch all that annoying stuff off. This actually has some of the most annoying beeping things in the world, so I'm going to switch all this stuff off, which ironically you need to take your eyes off the road to do. Okay, that is all off. It's like getting out of control at the moment, not just with this car, but all new cars today have all of these systems that, in my opinion, make drivers significantly worse, because instead of concentrating on the road, you're concentrating on why this is beeping at you, why it's suddenly steering you off the road. I don't know. They just need to stop with all this stuff because, it's not making it better. It's making it much worse. So anyway, under the bonnet of this is a 1.5 litre four-cylinder petrol engine. Now, it's only a teeny tiny engine, about 70 odd kilowatts of power, but it does mate to an electric motor. That electric motor outputs just over 150 kilowatts of power. So those two combined give you a really healthy output. And it means that when you're behind the wheel, you can get sunk into the throttle here, and it gives you a nice gentle push in the back. It's nothing crazy, and the engine can get a little thrashy as well, but it's nowhere near as explosive as something like the Tiggo 7 Super Hybrid, which has a whole lot of punch, but has a little bit of torque steer. This, on the other hand, is a lot more subdued in terms of the way that it delivers everything. It can just sound a little bit thrashy when the internal combustion engine kicks on. But you do have the ability to drive this in two different ways. You can either run it as a full electric car, so you've got a pure mode, or you can run it in its hybrid setting. What you can also do is charge the battery using the internal combustion engine. So you'd be doing that in situations where perhaps you know that the destination you're getting to doesn't have charging, but you do want to put a bit of energy back in the battery. It allows the vehicle to run the engine, charge the battery, and away you go. But obviously the most optimum way to run this is to charge it at home or your destination, so that every time you drive, you've got that 80 odd kilometres worth of electric driving range. You then also have different regen modes from automatic through to high. The regen is okay, but it takes forever to come on. If I roll out of the throttle, 1, 2, 2.5, 3 seconds almost to fully come on regen, and that is way too long. It should just be coming on regen immediately as you pull out of the throttle, and I don't understand how so many car companies cannot get this right. It should be linear with the throttle, so that as you come out of the throttle, it's already starting to slow down. That is the most natural and progressive way to do regen. So this needs a little bit of tuning there. Good news with all of this stuff, though, is that if they do fix it as a software update, it just rolls out to the car and it's all fixed and ready to go. It's just someone needs to be paying attention to it and actively working to fix it. There is a litany of other things you can change here as well, from steering assistance level to brake pedal comfort. There's even this thing I like, Comfort Park. When it comes to coming to a stop, because this is an electronic brake booster, It basically works electronically. It has a hydraulic override if you need it, but when you're starting to go progressively on the brake, it can actually adjust the level of braking so that you get a comfortable stop, whereas when you switch that off, it's quite an abrupt stop if you just keep a sort of linear pedal feel. So yeah, it's quite a good system that they've got all of this that you can actually customize for yourself. Now, in terms of fuel economy, Geely claims a figure of just over 2 litres per 100 k's. I mean, fuel economy in plug-in hybrids is a bit of a furphy because it's measured in such a way where you're either going to be doing your cycle on full battery or with some kind of driving to get this sort of split figure. In reality, though, if you are living with this car day to day, you're going to be probably charging it at home, driving it to work or whatever your daily destination is on electric, and then charging it at home again. When you do go on a longer drive and you drain the battery and the internal combustion engine kicks on, that is when you're going to start chewing through a bit of fuel. The reading here, I don't know what it means or what the distance is, but 5.8 litres per 100 kilometres. It could be over the last 50 k's, 100 k's. I don't know. It doesn't actually say. So that figure is, I guess, okay, but I don't know whether that is with charging or without charging. It really is just a bit of a mystery there in terms of what that figure actually means. Now, if you do go away from that screen, though, to this one. So it says here, over the past 1,300 kilometres of driving, the car's averaged 6 litres per 100 k's and consumed 1 kilowatt hour per 100 k. So it sounds like most of the time this has actually just been driven on the internal combustion engine as opposed to being charged, because that 1 kilowatt hour per 100 kilometre number is wrong for something that's been charged a lot. So there is a chance this is actually the figure. 5.86 is roughly where you're going to be if you're just running this as a hybrid. Now let's talk about the ride. So they have tuned this for comfort. It is very much on the softer side. Not such a bad thing if you're just driving in and around the city, but we'll get to our sine waves soon where we'll see what it's like when the speed picks up if you're on a country road or something like that, because I'll be curious to see whether it does sort of affect the way that it handles at highway speeds. Now, time for our sine waves. We'll do this at 130 k's an hour, which is maximum speed limit in Australia. Gives us a good understanding of what the ride is like. Emergency lane keeping activated, even though I switched it off. Okay, so here's 130. We'll see what the body control's like. Wow, not very good at all. Yeah, it's very soft. This definitely needs a ride and handling tune to make it suitable for country roads in Australia, because that is just way too soft. If you're out in the country, you hit some consecutive bumps like that at highway speeds, it's going to start feeling sketchy pretty quickly. Okay, bumpy road time. So we do this at 90 k's an hour. I suspect it'll be good on this, given there's that emergency lane keeping again. Should be good on this given how soft the ride is, and it does feel fairly comfortable over this. See what it's like on the condensed sine wave here. This is where it can get a little sketchy sometimes. Just kind of floating over that, which is what you get with cars that are quite softly sprung. But it's fine for what it is. Nice and comfortable for driving around the city. But yeah, once you leave the city confines, it is just probably a little underdone in terms of the ride and handling job. Now, in terms of your drive modes, if we jump over to here, you have pure, hybrid, and power. I'm going to stick it into power mode. Go for a lap of our ride and handling track. See what it's like when the speed picks up. There's that engine coming to life. We test all cars back to back in the same way to see what they're like. Obviously it's not a sports car, but just want to see what the performance and handling is like. These tyres are very much eco tyres, but yeah, look, it's reasonable. And when you do compare it to something like a Tiggo 7 Super Hybrid, which we're driving today, that is much peppier than this and handles better than this. Rides better than this. There's that emergency lane keeping again. But this is fine for what it is. If you're driving it just around the city, it is just going to be comfortable. It's certainly not really overly sporty and quite sort of wallowy as it goes, but you get adequate steering feel, and the power mode just gives you just that little bit of extra pep behind the wheel. Now, in terms of road noise, there's a fair bit of it, especially on coarse chip country roads. Sort of comes into the cabin quite a lot. You have to turn the volume up. We did put it up against our calibrated sound meter. You can see the results on the screen there. And if you do want to compare this car to other cars that we've driven before, there's a link in the description below that'll take you to our spreadsheet of data. Now let's test the semi-autonomous systems. We do this at 70 k's an hour here on the bowl. And basically we want to just see that the car can hold itself in the 3/8. Sorry about the beeping. Don't know. All right, so that's active. Got green steering wheel. So even in this first lane, it's kind of veering towards the left a bit. We'll jump over to the next lane, see what it's like up here. Okay, that's green. Okay, it's doing a reasonable job there. Okay, we'll jump over to the next lane. This is typically the hardest lane to sort of keep active in, just because it has to put the most steering torque on. No, it's not keen on that. Now the funny thing is that it's desperate to enable this emergency lane keeping stuff on you, but then when you actually need it to hold itself in the lane, it's not that keen on doing that. So yeah, it's just a system that definitely needs work. Okay, time to do just a little bit of performance testing to see how quickly this accelerates to 100, so you can compare it to other cars in the segment. We'll also go through to 120, so you can get your 80 to 120 overtaking time as well. So put that into power mode. I'm going to turn off stability control just so we don't have any traction control biting. Power mode, I can't turn off stability control, it's greyed out for some reason, so maybe it's that. Nope. Anyway, all right, here we go. Let's see what happens. Gets off the line all right, actually. Right, there's 60, and now it's slowing down. 80, 100, 110, 120. Yeah, that is quite leisurely. Let's see what that looked like. Okay, so that is 0 to 100 in 10.77 seconds. That is very slow. So weird, because behind the wheel it doesn't feel that slow, but that is very slow. And then 8.96 for 80 to 120. So the similarly priced Tiggo 7 Super Hybrid is like 3 or 4 seconds quicker to 100. So that is just interesting stat there for you. Okay, let's do a stop from 100 to see what the brake and tyre package is like. Here we go. All right. Doesn't feel too bad from here. So that is 100 to 0 in 2.73 seconds and 38.53 metres. So not a bad stopping distance. Anything between 35 and 40 is pretty good. So, all right, see how quick it goes in reverse. Here we go. All right, 2 kilometres now. So, Geely Starray, what do we think? Look, I think it's a good looking car, sharply priced. The interior is really nice, but it really is let down by the driver aids. They are so frustrating. Probably one of the worst of the Chinese cars I've driven recently, just being so in your face and annoying all the time and just taking forever to switch off. So that is something they need to address, and hopefully that is something they can address with a software update. And also just the way that it drives, they need to really work on that ride and handling setup so that it is just a bit more compliant, especially on country roads, because as a city-only car, it just limits your ability to drive it beyond the reaches of the city, which is, I guess, what the electric version's for, but this being the plug-in hybrid, you want to be able to travel longer distances. So hopefully they can solve those things, because then it would be a much better car. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. Have you bought one of these? How do you get used to the safety stuff? Because it would just drive me bonkers having to switch that off all the time, or even just leaving it on. That would be even more annoying. Let me know your thoughts. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure you like it and you share it with your mates. But until next time, take it easy.